Hi, I'm Erum from the Indian News, and we are back again at Alastair's office. Today, we're going to talk to Alastair about something that has been a bigger concern. In the last couple of days, there have been a lot of applications that have been declined for people from the Indian and maybe the South Indian region. And this is just based on partnership visas that have come under question. So we are here to talk to Alastair. Hi, Alastair.
Hi, Erum. How are you?
Good, thank you. So what is it that is exactly been happening in the last couple of days?
What we've seen very recently is very high numbers of partnership visas from India and the Indian subcontinent being declined, solely on the grounds that the couple have not lived together long enough. And pretty much ignoring everything else about those applications, but simply declining on the grounds of not living together.
So long enough would be.
Well, there's nothing in immigration policy which talks about how long someone needs to live together. They talk about partnerships needing to be genuine and stable. But the definition of a partnership are people who live together in the same home. So the problem we have is, of course, if you have someone who originally came from India or the subcontinent, living and working in New Zealand, go back to India, get married, return to work, apply for a visa for their new spouse, then they're finding these applications declined because the couple are not living together. Because they live in different countries, because the applicant is in India waiting for the visa and the sponsor is back at work in New Zealand. So they're not living together in the same place.
Is it alarming? Is it a number is it just one or two cases? Or
well, we've had, we're now getting 3 or 4 people a day coming to us with declined applications saying what's going on. Other people I've spoken to have been the same. We've heard today from MPs' offices that they're getting the same sort of numbers. This has just become an avalanche over the last couple of weeks. And it seems to be working in conjunction with Immigration New Zealand's huge backlog of applications in Mumbai. And how do they get through that huge backlog of partnership applications? I think we're getting a bit of an answer on that now. There's just mass declines, and they're all for basically exactly the same reason. In fact, you could almost say that a lot of the letters just look like they're copy and paste templates of each other.
It's interesting because we know that none of these applications are being decided in a matter of a month or 2. They definitely take over 8 or sometimes even 8 or 9 months. So on what basis exactly are they trying to say that this whole thing about not having lived together, or why are they doing?
Well, because that's what immigration policy says. Immigration policy says that you can't get a partnership visa unless you are living together in the same home. So it's a single home. So when a sponsor is here in New Zealand living and working, and they go back to India to marry their partner, there are 2 homes. So therefore they're not living together. And of course the sponsor normally has to return to work, because you can only get 4 weeks annual holiday a year. Yet these visa applications are taking 8 or 9 months. So I'm not talking about situations where Immigration New Zealand have concerns about a genuine relationship or credible information or these sorts of things. I mean, the applications we're seeing now, Immigration New Zealand is saying, yes, the relationship is genuine. We don't have any concerns about anything, but you're not living together, so you're declined. So what they're basically saying is that if you want to get a partner, you need to quit your job and you need to return to India and you need to live in India. So, as we talked about this morning, we have people who are high-paying professionals, we've got engineers, we've got IT technicians, we've got all these people who are facing a dilemma. Either they quit their job and go back to India to marry the person that their wider families would like them to marry, or they remain unmarried, or they have to find someone here to marry, or they just have to leave and pack up and leave. And of course, some people are also saying, well, if New Zealand's not going to let me in, maybe I should go and live somewhere else. And they'll take their skills, their work experience, their qualifications, and they'll take them to Canada or UK or Australia, someone that wants them.
Someone that wants them. But do you think that they generally, is it a question of them not understanding the practice that is so prevalent, which is an arranged marriage and is very standard?
Absolutely not. I mean, they understand exactly what the situation is. These immigration instructions regarding partnerships and living together have been this way for a very long time. Over the last 10 years, what we've seen is immigration management taking a common sense approach to applying the immigration policy to the particular Indian cultural context. And so when I'm saying Indian here, I mean the wider Indian subcontinent, because it's very similar. Pakistan, India, Bangladesh, Nepal, Sri Lanka, it's all very similar. So they've taken a common sense approach. Now they're basically saying, well, look, we're not going to take a common sense approach anymore. Unless you live together and form a relationship like white Kiwis do, then you cannot get a visa. So it's basically saying it's either a white relationship or no relationship, and that's it. So Indian culture does not play a part in this anymore.
So there's no real rule change or anything, is it?
There's no rule changes.
Yeah.
It's a reinterpretation of the immigration policy, and basically the reinterpretation is a strict interpretation of what the policy is. No common sense approach to take into consideration cultural context.
Right. And so how exactly do you think is there something that the Indian government or the politicians here, but what exactly, we know that there are problems, but what is the real approach? What do you think is the solution?
Well, we know that immigration management have in the past taken a common sense approach to, as I say, applying policy to an Indian cultural context.
Yeah.
Now that has stopped. The immigration minister needs to drag in his officials into his office and say, why are you stopping this? If he is not willing to do that, then we need to ask the question, why does this government not want to stop Immigration New Zealand declining all these applications? What is the purpose here?
Right.
Now, we think about it, if it's going to force migrants who are from India originally, if it's going to force them to leave the country, and if it's going to stop people coming in and getting residency here as a partner, then we're going to have less migration numbers. Which political parties were talking about lowering migration numbers before the election. And that maybe will answer your question.
So I'm just trying to put this in a nutshell. So is it that all this that is said about that we welcome immigrants and is currently just put on hold because the numbers need to be sorted for the next elections, and more or less everything will.
If you're asking my personal opinion, I think that that's just political nonsense. There's no welcome of migrants here. I mean, in fact, it's I would describe this as a war against Indian migrants. This is only one example of the last year and a half. We've seen constant reinterpretation of immigration instructions, which have adversely affected particularly the Indian community. This is just one example of it, but we see it across the board in every type of application. And at the same time, we see in particular our Deputy Prime Minister, Winston Peters, bragging publicly about the reduction in residence numbers. I don't think these two things are a coincidence.
Yeah, we've published another story based on the numbers that they have shown. About 33,000 is what they had targeted, so they've just roughly reached somewhere close to 30,000.
And I think we can see where they're going to get that 30,000 from, and they seem to have decided that it's going to be from the Indian community.
And the entire business confidence going low for the country, does that say anything about what people think?
That's not a coincidence either, is it?
A lot of Indians surprisingly tell me that it's all right if they don't allow more Indians to come in, which is quite shocking because the economy is going to hit everybody if it goes into
it's a very strange thing which I've noticed over the years about the Indian community. They want open immigration until they get their residence visas and then they want that door slammed behind them as quickly as possible.
Right. So that's the honest truth. So we're just hoping that we are going to speak to some more people about this particular the partnership visa that's going haywire, and we'll try and see how things can be shaped up, and we definitely have some hope because there are people like you and there are other people from our community who are ready to put their hand up. And
well, and remember, in these partnership applications, we're not necessarily talking about students who want to bring wives or people who are on short-term work visas. We're not talking about the concern. We're not talking about the concerns that Immigration New Zealand have about the genuineness of a relationship or the credibility of the information. With some of the examples we've talked about today, you and I can see from the wedding photos immediately that it's a genuine marriage. Yet Immigration New Zealand is saying, well, we accept that this is a genuine relationship, but you haven't lived together long enough, so you're declined. Now, what's the sponsor supposed to do who's in a skilled job, who's here working, who's a New Zealand resident? They've spent lakhs of rupees on these weddings. They've got a partner waiting to come here. The only option left to them is to quit their job,
and
leave their home, and either return to India, or the couple will go to a country such as Canada, which seems to be more welcoming towards Indian migrants.
Yeah. So let's see if there's any hope. Currently, I think whether the government considers this or not, I think the situation is bleak. Quite bleak for the Indian residents. I mean, the applicants who are trying to gain their residency, and hopefully things should change. So
only the Minister of Immigration will be able to answer that question. So let's see what he says in response.
Yeah. Thank you so much for talking to us today, Alastair. Thank you very much. Thank you, viewers.